Yo, what's good, boys? Thank you so much for clicking on the video. Listen, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the best non-claw, non-paddle controller binds. I'm going to tell you the best binds and settings that you should use on controller. And if you're going to learn new binds, you should also learn how to put them to good use in game. And that's what the sponsor of this video is here to help for. Novos is a program that builds you a personalized training schedule for your needs. Your weekly training plan is put together by pros and coaches to help you improve with any skill set in the game. And my favorite part is the workshop, where you can learn tons of different skill sets like how to be an IGL, how to keep height, how to regain height, and tons more. And there's even interactive questions that'll really test your knowledge and help you learn. And Novos also tracks all the progress you make to see how much you've improved. And for the ones that love tips and tricks, there's over 70 videos dedicated to Fortnite knowledge. And most of these insane tips and tricks are exclusive to Novos that you can't get anywhere else. And Novos was kind enough to give me my own code Takeoff that gives you 80% off your first month. So it's literally less than $2 to sign up and start taking your Fortnite progress seriously. And again, a big thank you to Novos for sponsoring this video. And with all that said, let's go ahead and hop into these settings. My main goal with these settings is to have to take your finger off the right joystick as much as possible. So that means we're going to be using our down left stick and our down right stick for two really important binds. And that's going to be jumping on our right stick and editing on our left stick, because it's super important to be able to build and edit without taking your finger off the right stick. And our third most important bind would be our build mode bind. And that I put on either X, or you can leave it at B if you're comfortable with already pressing B as build mode. But X is a shorter distance than it is to B from your thumbstick, so it is a little bit quicker if you get it down, but it is kind of all personal preference. And we'll dive into the rest of the settings in just a second, but you have to understand on how important it is to be able to do most of everything without taking your thumb off the joystick. So just changing these two settings will make you so much better from the default bind that you most likely were already on. Let's dive a little bit deeper on what I recommend for the rest of the other binds. So since down left stick is our edit, the new tactical sprint is left on my D-pad. You can remove squad comms or the place marker bind from your D-pad and put it on any of these. And our down right stick is our jump, so we can jump and build at the same time. And I put crouch on A, my pickaxe is B, switch mode is X, just because it's a little bit shorter distance, and reload is Y. And these are the exact binds I used to use when I didn't use my Elite controller when I had paddles. And even one of the fastest controller editors in the world uses these binds. His name is BH Reload, and he has these exact bind setup, and he is so fast at editing. Just because you don't have claw or have paddles on the back doesn't mean you can't be a top tier player. But moving on to the build controls, nothing has changed much here. This is all really the same, except you will have to put trap picker play / interact on a bind, and of course don't forget to add a crouch / slide bind to here so that you can use that while you're building. And then our edit controls, so these are super important. So like I said, my edit button is down left stick and our select is the right trigger. And to reset my builds, I hit my right bumper just like right here, and I use left bumper to confirm all of that. Now a lot of people use left trigger, and the problem with using left trigger is most people don't have trigger stops, because if you don't have trigger stops, you have to push the trigger all the way down and then come all the way back up for it to release. But whenever you use the left bumper, you can simply press this button one time and it'll edit instantly. So that's why I recommend using your left bumper instead of your left trigger. And now we're going to move on to my sensitivity. So my sensitivity for non-claw, non-paddle, I recommend a really solid medium sensitivity. So for my vertical and horizontal, I use 39. That is on the lower side. You can bump that up to anywhere to 45, even 50 if you want to, whatever you're comfortable with, but I recommend it on the lower side to stay consistent with that SMG tracking, since there's barely any aim assist with the new SMGs. And since you do have to take your finger off your stick to press your build mode, I do recommend you keep your build and edit mode sensitivities very consistent and very similar. So I keep those at 1.8, and ADS sensitivity is definitely personal preference, but this is what I recommend: 11%, and 0.9 seconds of turning boost ramp time. This just helps a lot for long range AR shots. And of course, linear is better than exponential. Some people are still on expo, but I definitely recommend you switch to linear if you want to have better mechanics. And the dead zone, so I use a 10 dead zone on the right stick and a 12 dead zone on the left stick. But dead zone is also personal preference, so I'd recommend you keep it anywhere from 8% to about 12%, because anywhere under 8%, it's really hard to stay consistent with crosshair placement while editing, and anywhere above 12% is just a little bit too choppy when you're trying to build, and especially whenever you're trying to line up a 200 pump. It's a little bit weird. That 2% does help a ton, so I keep it right in the middle at 10%, and I definitely recommend you give it a try. And of course, keep enable foot controller off. This does reduce input delay, so make sure you don't have that thing on. And like I said a minute ago, I do use paddles, so I'm not really used to these binds, but I can already do simple builds and some type of retakes already. It is pretty easy to learn. These aren't very difficult. As long long as you stay with these settings for about 2 weeks, you will see tons of improvements. So definitely take your time to learn them. Don't feel like you have to switch back to your old binds just because you're not improving within the first couple of days. Learning new binds takes a lot of time, but it is super helpful. Once you do, you will be so much better than you were before. And if you made it to this part of the video, go into the comments and comment non-claw. I want to see who the real ones are and who actually watches my full videos. And if you enjoyed this video or found it helpful in any way, you'll definitely enjoy the video on screen. So go ahead and click it, and I'll see you in there. Much love, boys. Peace.